Love Day, and thanks for checking out the Sportsline Podcast on CHCH. I'm Bubba O'Neill. As I say on a daily basis, folks, this podcast is a space to highlight the outstanding athletes, coaches, executives, broadcasters, and in this case, entrepreneurs from Southern Ontario that are making their mark on the big stage. From attending the University of Guelph to being the CEO of Comeback Snacks and everything in between, Emily O'Brien has truly traveled up and down and back up the ladder of success. Her story, so extraordinary, in some ways so shocking, yet amazingly inspirational. As one of her personal mottos read, everybody loves a comeback, and in the sports world, we certainly do. Emily O'Brien, so pleased to have you here on the Sportsline Podcast. This is amazing. I'm so glad that you're here on our comfy couch.
I know. It is a very comfy couch.
Good to see you. How are things?
Things are great. Well, first of all, it's sunny out today, so that's good.
That's a good start.
We've seen a lot of growth in the past couple of years. Obviously a lot of challenges, but, that's when you build the most muscles, when you go through the biggest challenges.
Absolutely. And I think your story, as I said, is so inspirational on so many levels. And before we even touch any of that, let's talk about you as a young Ems O'Brien. Like, what kind of kid were you?
I was very adventurous, that's for sure. I was part of numerous clubs, like the Junior Naturalist Club. I planted trees. I took drawing classes. I did babysitting. I played a lot of sports, actually. Rep basketball from very young. I think grade 4 was when I started.
Here in Hamilton, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we traveled all across Ontario. And then I also did HBA. I loved animals, so I'd volunteer at the animal shelter. I loved bugs and stuff, so I'd be hanging out in the garden. I loved to read. I would take my family wagon and bring it to the library and come home with just stacks of books and magazines and CDs and. So yeah, I was very interested in a lot of things.
And you said you played sports and you played basketball, but you played more than basketball as well too.
Yeah, especially in elementary school. I know I did every sport under the sun, whether that was badminton, volleyball, intramurals. Cross country wasn't my favorite. We were forced to run. Sometimes I would fake the odd injury so I wouldn't have to do
I did it too.
my ankle.
My knee. I hear you.
Yeah, but I still did well in the races and stuff. And then so in high school, I did badminton, I did baseball, and then I did cross country for a bit, but flunked out of that.
Did you watch sports at all? Or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, me and my dad would always watch sports, live sports. We'd go to Raptors games, Leaf games, Cat games. He was also my coach on a league that I played for called Dundas Dynamo. It was another rep basketball league. Okay. So my father was a big part of my athletic upbringing.
And that's always tough. It can be either really beneficial or sometimes very difficult when you are a young athlete and your parents are involved in the coaching. Was that okay for you?
Sometimes.
Okay.
No, he was a great coach. But honestly, it was more stressful when they were watching the games when he wasn't a coach. Because then you'd be shooting a foul shot and you're like, oh my God.
Okay.
I'd always, sometimes I'd get them in, but I would just get so anxious when my parents were watching. But they always came to every game, every tournament that we had, they'd cart us around, me and my team members to Huntsville and Sarnia, all over. So they were very, very involved.
So you eventually get to the University of Guelph and things what interests you? I know you still love sports, but what started to interest you at this point now?
My academia, for sure. I went for international development, and this actually wasn't my first choice. My first choice was business, but then I took applied math, so I couldn't get into the business program. Okay. And then I also wanted to take nutrition, which was my second choice. But my chemistry was terrible, so I couldn't get into it, which is funny because that's where I am now, nutrition and business, pretty much. But I took a trip abroad when I was 18, and it was right after, in my gap year of high school, and I went to Costa Rica for a month, just volunteering. And I worked on the beach with some sea turtles, and then in the rainforest, helping to restore trails. And I just love that element of working and helping communities. Right. So that's when I was okay, what else can I do, knowing that I love this and I can't get into these other two programs. I applied for international development. So I was okay, I'm going to go, not save the world, but at least try to make it better. To
do your part. That's an amazing thing. And through the university years and all of that, you end up doing something that I think is really cool because, in my opinion, it's really ahead of the curve. You get into social media and marketing and promotion. How did that all start?
Well, because I traveled a lot, my first trip to Costa Rica was like the first of many that I would, for Christmas, I would just ask for plane tickets. So then I would go to Peru and I'd go to, where else did I go? Oh, Indonesia. Like after university, I actually went to Indonesia and I worked for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Wow.
There as well. And so it became to tell like my story and like about my adventures, and people loved the way that I told my story and like these fun, crazy adventures around the world, but also while learning so much about other people.
Before we move on from there, there's something about Indonesia, something about you being in a jungle.
Oh, yeah.
What happened there, please?
So I was with my friend who was Indonesian, and we went to go climb this volcano, and it was like surrounded by jungle. And then it got dark, and we got lost. We were lost for like 2 days.
Like real life Survivor here.
Yeah. But he was like, he knew we'd finally we stumbled across a village, and like they let us like stay in their house and like fed us and stuff. But it was, I thought I was gonna get attacked by a tiger or like, but no, like nothing.
Because you're the North American one. You're the one from Canada in a jungle.
I know. Came out scot-free though. Just really, really dehydrated.
That's a wild story, man, because I don't know what I would do with animals. And you said lions, tigers, crazy monkeys. It could be really, really wild. Man, amazing story. So the social media thing really blows up. And then you're starting to understand business at this point.
Yeah, mostly I'm starting to understand people and learning how much joy it brought me to tell other people's stories. So when I had that company in Toronto called Gather, I would work with restaurants, even events, individual entrepreneurs.
Sorry, this is your business?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old are you at this point?
I think I was 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, go keep.
Yeah, 23. But prior to that, like between graduating university and starting that business, I'd worked like a number of marketing jobs. In-field marketing, experiential marketing, all that kind of stuff. And so I really started to build up that people part of marketing, like the sales part of it, and then also the storytelling aspect.
I think that's the crazy thing, because I don't think many people were into social media at that point. So everything's going great. You're running around, you're making contacts, you're at the best parties, you're eating the best food, and then kablamo. What happens?
Well, actually, I wasn't always eating the best food because I developed an addiction, and so I was drinking a lot. Something really terrible happened with my family. They split up, and it was really horrible. And I know this happens all the time, but it still was really difficult for me. So I started to abuse alcohol and some drugs and kind of fell into like a little bit of a hole, but I hid it very well. And then I met someone through my work who was allegedly sober. We went on a trip. Turns out he wasn't actually sober, and I was there on a drug smuggling operation.
Without you even knowing?
Yeah. Like I noticed some red flags about him prior to that, but you know what we do with red flags. We just take them and put them in our pocket.
For the most part, especially if you like the person.
Yeah.
You trust the person.
Yeah.
Can you go as detailed as to what happened when you actually got caught? I think that's a part that, I think sometimes we watch TV, we've seen there's shows that have been made about getting caught. Yeah.
Actually, I was relieved to get caught because I went on that trip and everything was so scary and terrifying, and I just wanted to go home. Like that's it. You always have these like armchair experts telling you, oh, you should have done this, should have done that. Oh, you should have called the embassy. But no, you're in a foreign country with people that are part of this very dangerous operation. No one's going to be able to save you. Like you just have to get out of there as soon as you can. And I was really bad at it. I mean, I told him I was like not going to be good at it. He wasn't having any of it. He's like, no, we're doing it. He was in a lot of debt apparently, and this was all part of his plan.
Right.
So getting on that airplane with 2 kilograms of drugs strapped to my body, it was nerve-wracking, but I was also felt safe. At least I was getting on a plane home, right? I didn't know what like the actual repercussions were going to be. But the first thing that I thought about was me and my family's safety. I mean, that just makes the most common sense. So got on that plane, landed at the airport. Me and him both got called into secondary, and I just pled guilty.
Right.
I didn't like make a huge scene at the airport, because if you do that, those drugs aren't mine.
Right.
So if I deliberately sabotaged this entire operation, it would have been my fault. Right. So that's dangerous too. So I just eventually we got questioned, and then I just said I had them because they already knew I was going to lie. They're going to search me. I can't imagine you being a good liar. I'm so bad at it. Okay. So I really can't. And I was just mad at the airport the whole time too. Like my body language was probably just the loudest language in the room. Right. So
So at this point, then, of course, there's sentencing, and which I don't know this is all very scary for you. This is again now like this is real. Like you've gone from this pretty normal growing up in Hamilton, good family life and sports and stuff, university life, starting your own business, and then all of a sudden hit the brakes. Everything's going to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a big, big shift. I mean, this wasn't the first time that I was in trouble. Like, I want to be honest, like in high school, I was definitely pretty rebellious. I skipped a lot of class and kind of got involved in that crowd. And so it wasn't the first time that my parents had seen the police, let's say.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But this is this is the feds now.
Yeah. And so after I was arrested at the airport, it's not like you can just call a friend to get you out. It's not like that, like you see on TV. Like because of the seriousness of the offense, which was news to me because I didn't study the criminal code. I didn't know what was going to go down. I had to actually live with my parents because I was on house arrest, and they had to be an surety. So house arrest while the case was going through the courts. So that was 2.5 years of that, and that was, I think, the most difficult time for me because that was when I was by myself. I was so angry, and I had like no one to really talk to. So it was probably the darkest part was then. But then I just got tired of living in the dark and realizing that it was killing me, and I began to look back on all the good things that I'd done and all the great supports and all the people that love me. And I was like, I'm not going to let them down, and I'm not going to let myself down, and kicked myself in the butt. And that it was just one day I was like, I've had enough. And that's when my mindset changed. I was like,
that's amazing. It's that one day you're like, okay, enough already.
Yeah.
I'm going to change this situation, which is probably feeling so negative, as you said, so dark, alone.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden your brain gets going on business.
Yeah. Yeah.
How? What? Why? I'm sorry, but popcorn. Of all the random things to ever think about, I'm going to start a popcorn company.
Well, yeah, the popcorn company didn't actually happen until I was in prison because I knew that I was going to prison eventually. And I was like, okay. So prior to that, I kind of studied where I was going because the best thing you can do to educate yourself is research, right? And that can kind of bring you some comfort. So I did that. I ended up actually meeting someone by chance who had even been to prison for the same crime. So she kind of served as my mentor. And this was just like a fluke meeting. I met her at a work event because while I was on house arrest, I was still allowed to go to work. And this was like a volunteer kind of thing. So she was there. And so she became my mentor. She's like, it'll be fine. And then I was like, okay, you know what? If I'm going away I was looking at a 4-year sentence, the mandatory minimum. So in the Canadian, like criminals, whatever, Canadian justice system, you can serve 1/3 of your sentence inside, and then the rest you can serve in the community on parole, as long as you follow all the rules. So I knew that I was looking about a year and a half. And I was like, you know what? People go away for a year all the time. And they go away for school. They go away for sabbaticals. They go away on vacation. They go away for rehab. This is going to be all of those things to me. And because also my legal fees were $50,000, my parents helped me pay some of them, but I paid them back every cent. Well, for the most part. And that's why I was like, I'm not going to spend $50,000 and waste it. Like, this is going to go towards all of those things. And so when I went to prison on January 16th, 2018, I knew that I was going to get healthier. I was going to take ownership, and I was going to build something good and better and build something that mattered, that no one could take from me, that I could use as a source of strength and not weakness. And that ended up being popcorn.
Wow. But I'm sorry, I keep asking how.
I know, I didn't want to keep rambling. So
well, no, I'm aghast by this. I mean, because it's just crazy. Like, even the darkest part of your life, but somehow you're turning this into a positive. Your mind is going, and it's producing some good thoughts here.
Yeah, and like growing up in sports, you learn how to play offense and defense. You learn how to be feisty, and I was a number 3, but my solid position was defense. I was a really good defender. And you have to be feisty in those positions, but you have to also be strategic. And that's when I learned how to like take all those skills I learned from sports and learn how to build my best defense. And after doing that, I began to like talk to other people in prison, all the other people that were in there. And I learned that we all had so much in common. We had all made mistakes, but I was also very lucky in the sense that I did have a great family. I had a lot of support. They didn't let me off scot-free. This is not an easy way out for me. Definitely not. You know, I still had a lot of work to do to repair those relationships, but I still had their support. And when I was in there, I just saw how many people were just condemned for like their whole life from the people around them. And it was very hard for them to think differently and to get out on their feet. And society doesn't really help either. And so I wanted to create a way to redefine the experience of people coming out of prison, and starting with myself, right? I was like, I'm going to show that like you can, just because you make a mistake and you go to prison for it, doesn't make you unemployable, doesn't make you unlovable, doesn't make you unworthy of living a happy, healthy life after you pay your dues. And so we all shared food together. Right. Popcorn was a popular prison snack. I love popcorn, and we'd put different things on it, different recipes. Unique recipes though, like different spices, because we had access to certain kinds of spices and stuff. And so I was like, maybe I can create a popcorn company that has like different flavors, with a mission of employing myself and people that I've maybe been to prison with, to showcase that the proof is not just in the popcorn, it's in the people. And so it started inside prison, and to fight for like life after incarceration.
And all those people rallied around you as well too, which has got to be the best part. Yeah,
like I don't want to say rallied around me. I think we rallied around each other. Like we kind of started to just create this like strong community that believed in ourselves. And you know, it was so fun to build it, because it was also a lived experience. Like the lived experience is something that no one can take from you. No one can tell you that you're a liar, because you were there and you're doing it, and you're doing it for all the right reasons.
So now you get into out of actually being in jail. Yep. You have a business plan. How do you get that business plan? And you've already had some samples and some great ideas while you're in jail. As you said, some great experiences there. And hey, we can do something here. So how do you build this plan? How do you get the plan into motion? Because, I mean, one of the things we always hear about Canada, that it's compared to the United States, and it's not impossible, but it's hard to start businesses. And it's hard to start businesses on your own with minimal support, and you get it off the ground floor here.
Well, that's just the thing. I didn't do it alone at all. Starting from my friends inside prison, to even some of the staff members inside prison, to some of the volunteers that came into the prison, everyone served as like a source of support to my family. I would write letters to authors that had written books, and then they were like, message me when you get out. Lawrence Hill, David Chilton, they've all been like great supporters of this. And then when I got out, I knew that I was like living in the halfway house, and I knew that I was ready to share the story, because it wasn't going to be something that was going to stay inside me. Like there was no point. Like what was the point of all this if I can't help anyone or do anything good with it, if I'm just going to pretend it never happened? Right. And so that's when I did an article with The Spectator. And it was like a front page cover, and it was 8 pages long. And I was like, I'm going to tell this story my way. And ever since then, like that's when it kind of just blew up. Like then I was doing articles with Vice and CBC and CTV, kind of documenting the journey. And every time that something was shared, community support would come in, like whether it was a printing company out in Cambridge being like, we're going to give you $3,000 worth of labels, right? Or someone sent us our first popcorn popper. And then like the grocery store, the Horn of Plenty in Dundas, offered their space to use for free in exchange for like social media. So I helped them with their social media. So many people helped to really build it.
Okay, so now the company's rocking now. Things are happening. And I think right now too, I think this is when I first met you too, is that you are in Dundas, you've got the product, you've got it wasn't Comeback Snacks at the time.
It was Cons and Kernels.
Okay. Cons and Kernels. Like, wow. Amazing. Who put that together? You?
It was actually a survey that I did in prison. I came up with all these names, and that was the one that we decided collectively together. But then when we got out, I kind of realized that it was more isolating. Okay. Like we aren't just people that are in prison making popcorn. We're humans like trying to get back on our feet. And a way to build a brand and to make it relevant, you have to make it relevant. So what does everyone do? Everyone makes mistakes. Every single person on this planet, everyone that's listening to this has made a mistake, had to ask for forgiveness and build their comeback. And so that's why we changed the name.
It really is a wonderful name, and it's a great story, Emily. Like it is so uplifting. And I think the fact that it's Canadian, it's local in our area, but now the company is growing, right?
Yeah.
And it's going from you dropping off boxes to stores to now big trucks carrying popcorn going into supermarkets. And now, how did you make that advancement? This is now you're rolling.
Well, I have a great team, first and foremost. I have a great business partner. I have great people, like advisors that have also helped out, just wanting to be a part of it. And so that's people in the grocery industry, our distributors, the Neal brothers. They were instrumental in getting us from essentially delivering ourselves to delivering across Eastern, and now we're delivering all across Canada. They recently merged with a Western distributor called John Luca. So now they're called John Luca Neal. So that was a big thing for us last year. So now we're like, oh my God, great. Now we have this great team that's going to help us get all across the country. So yeah, it's great. We have a great manufacturing partners. We have 2 of them now. So obviously we can't keep up with making it ourselves. So you have partnerships with manufacturers who help make your product for you.
All right.
And in terms of the staffing, we have people that work for Comeback Snacks that I've been in prison with that help out with everything from like marketing to small sales to sampling to coming to events. So there's lots of
and you've been consistent the whole way through that you are going to employ people that were in your situation as well.
Yep. Absolutely. And as we grew, I mean, because of the structure of our business, we knew that like we're never going to have a popcorn factory. Like we can't afford it. Like, and that's just not a smart business move. So what we did, because we're still a small, lean team, like internally, we made partnerships with organizations like the John Howard Society, Elizabeth Fry, Young Street Mission. And so what we do is when people ask us for work, we have places to send them that have, and also spot work as well. They're another organization that has all these jobs for people that have records. So we serve as a resource to connect others that need employment, not just with us, but with other fair chance employers as well.
Is it fair to say that, I don't want to say discrimination, but is it fair to say that overall, or like you're changing that stigma, for a lot of people that may look at resumes and see, oh my goodness, they went to jail, that I'm not going to hire them?
Yeah. I think, I don't think it's just been me. Of course, like the John Howard Society actually had put out a fantastic report 2 weeks ago studying, it was basically, they did a study of employers who had hired people that had records. And they basically said that those people that had records performed just the same, or if not better than those without records. So people that have records, basically, they're not as risky as people think that they are. And they can actually provide tremendous value to your business and also to their own lives and help them rebuild their lives. So
That's awesome. Now, the thing that gets me really interested here is because Comeback Snacks, I watch a lot of sports. Popcorn is my favorite snack of all things, really. But it's part of sports, really, in many ways. You popcorn, peanuts, chips, hot dogs, drinks, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, whatever you prefer.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden now, you've now morphed as your business has expanded into the world of sports. Take me from where this all started.
Well, it all started with one of our connections. He was like, he knew someone at Scotiabank Arena. He's like, listen, I don't know what they're going to say. I can't make any promises, but just send in the samples, see what happens. And they loved it, and they took us on, and now they have 2 flavors. So Scotiabank Arena, now they're going through like multiple pallets every couple weeks. And
pallets?
Yeah. So of course, like it's not just in sports, but also like the other concerts and stuff. But yeah, and my friends go to the arena and they see it, they'll take a picture, and it's great. So it started with Scotiabank Arena and Coca-Cola Coliseum. And then we got the Baltimore Orioles last year as well.
Again, is this working your connections?
Well, yeah, the great support we have around us. Yeah.
Well, you're international. You're gone from Toronto to you're international. Baltimore, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and just like so many great people that believe in the brand, and also it tastes great. It sells. People love it, and people love comebacks in sports. So, trifecta.
And let me know where you just signed a new deal. Where are you going now?
Madison Square Gardens.
Like the Mecca. Like the Mecca of sports, right? Like everything. I know you said like there's music as well too. Like, I mean, from everywhere, from the Rangers to Led Zeppelin, like the famous fights. Like this is the Mecca. It is the Mecca of sports, Madison Square Garden. Like your product is going to be there amongst many of the other ones, Lay's chips, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's got to be, I don't know. Is it rewarding? Is it proud? Like, what is it for you?
It's exciting also because Charles Oakley might be there sometime. My favorite player.
This is where the basketball love as a kid comes back, right? Yeah. Amazing.
And also the New York Mets will be in this season as well. So, and Blue Jays.
Yeah, Blue Jays. You better step up, for crying out loud. Holy mackerel! That is an amazing rise from where you've come from, and to get this product at all of these great. I'm going to make it a sports thing at all these great sporting venues. Again, that is fantastic, and the fact that you have now pushed that. Now I got to ask you, what's next? Is there
What's next is catching my breath. That's it. Sometimes you got to just you don't want to rush things too fast because then if you overload yourself, you're just going to stress yourself out. And so we are just building up for a great sporting season, baseball seasons, and more growth across the country and, making those inroads into the U.S. So.
Right. And that is your plan to continue more places in the United States. That would be the sort of the master plan at this point.
Yeah, the arenas are a great place for us to be, and every time we get a picture, someone sends it to us, it just makes me so happy. Well,
and again, I agree. I say so many things have coming back here. We talk about that social media, and you're right. I have seen that. I've done it actually, where it's like I want to show you, hey, I got your product here. And I'm enjoying it, and I take a picture, and it spreads all across social media. Yeah. It's been an important part of the growth of the company, has it not?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's so fun. And, again, continued success. I think it's amazing what you've done. The road has probably not been easy, but it's probably what makes it even better in some ways.
Absolutely. I'll never forget the day you drove down my street, and my cat was in the driveway, and I was like, here's your popcorn. Yeah, you're like an OG supporter, right? It's great. So.
Well, I along with so many people, are so proud of you and your success and what you've put together and your continued drive. You haven't stopped, right? No. You said you want to take a breath. Do you take a little vacation here and there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because again, getting it off the ground floor and doing all you did. I know you were just pounding away in terms of the work level and working 365 days a week, 7 days a week. How many hours you have in a day? Yeah. I know that this your baby, I guess is what you've been calling it.
Teenager now. It's reckless. Well, out of control.
But it's under control. Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing of it. So again, thank you for telling your story. Thank you for inspiring so many people. I know and I don't think you even recognize. And maybe you do, the effect that you're having on people here locally and what you've done. Because to do what you've done in the short amount of time, really relatively, in what you've done is a real amazing story.
Oh, well, thank you, Bubba.
Thanks for joining us here on Sportsline Podcast.
Anytime.
All right, folks, if you do like sports with a Southern Ontario twist, it's your thing. You want to be here. The Sportsline Podcast do want to hear from you. Please subscribe to the Sportsline Podcast on TikTok, YouTube, and if you please do comment. Hit that thumbs up or the 5-star button so you always get the latest edition of all the fine podcasts here on CHCH, including Trending Now and Newsmakers with Louis Butko. For all the amazing hands and minds that make this production possible, thank you for hanging out, and we'll see you tomorrow.